Hi everyone, so this movie called Sophie's Revenge. And the lesson of this story is stop revenge to anyone because it can cause anxiety. When someone persists in revenge fantasies, over time they can develop anxiety and depression as well as feelings of shame. So here are 7 reasons why seeking revenge is a bad idea. First, it won't make you feel better. It was Shakespeare that said, if you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? Revenge might seem like a logical, even inevitable reaction. You might be thinking that it will also provide great relief from the pain that you are feeling or some sort of satisfaction. Sadly, evidence shows that people who seek revenge instead of forgiving or letting go tend to feel worse in the long run. You are much better off channeling your energy into moving forward positively with your life. Second, in fact, it might make you feel worse. I hate to break it to you, but if you consider yourself to be a decent human being, causing someone else distress or pain, whether you think they are not deserving of it or not, might not put the smile on your face you were hoping for. In fact, it might make you feel worse. You might feel guilty, upset, regretful, and these kinds of feelings tend to linger and weigh heavy on your conscience. While you might feel hurt or betrayed right now, eventually you will be able to put those feelings behind you. But if you burden your conscience with guilt, you are more likely to ruminate over your actions. This makes moving on much harder and only puts your life on hold. Number 3, it could backfire. Gandhi once said, an eye for an eye only ends up making the whole world blind. Think about the repercussions of your actions. You might end up in trouble with a teacher or parent for seeking revenge. You might even put yourself in harm's way. What can really be gained? It is far better to save yourself from the possibility of further trauma. Focus on the good things in your life and look at how you can move forward, putting the person who hurt you firmly in the past. Number 4, you are wasting precious time. Not to sound cliche, but life is short. Do you really want to waste your precious time on someone that doesn't deserve it? Think of all the fun things you could be doing instead of acting like Mr. Burns and planning and focusing your energy on the negative. How can you make way for new, positive experiences if you are preoccupied with wreaking havoc? 5, because of karma. Whether you believe in it or not, karma makes a much better friend than a fool. Make sure to keep on the right side of it. Number 6, 2 wrongs don't make a right. In fact, seeking revenge isn't going to undo the actions of the person who has wronged you. So do the right thing. Be the bigger person. You will be glad you did so in the long run. Number 7, you could get caught in an endless revenge loop. So you seek revenge on the person who hurt you. They then take revenge on your revenge, and the cycle continues. Make sure you don't get caught in a loop. It will only cause you further pain and hurt. Try and live negatively and people who bring you down in the past. They are not worth your time and energy. So, is revenge worth it? No, never. So, to give you a little background, Sophie is a talented cartoonist who seems to have it all. A successful career, great friends, and the perfect, handsome fiancé, Jeff. A surgeon who her mother adores. So when Jeff is stolen away by Anna, Fan Bingbing, a beautiful actress, Sophie wants revenge. The first step in her plan, sympathy and understanding, fails as does the second step, nostalgia. Sophie's friends invite her out to a party to cheer her up, but she runs into Jeff and Anna. She also runs into Gordon, a photographer who apparently has been recently dumped by Anna. She quickly elicits his help in her revenge campaign. With Gordon, Sophie continues to implement the other steps of her plan, but the invention fails, so does entrapment. Gordon reluctantly agrees to help Sophie with arousing jealousy, where they both behave like lovers in front of Jeff and Anna. Finally, something in her plan begins to work. Jeff seems to be jealous. A thrilled Sophie is convinced that the next step, search and rescue, will be her final winning move. But Gordon refuses to help and confesses that he has fallen in love with Sophie, who sooner than expected is confronted by a repentant Jeff who wants her back. Who should she choose for true love and happiness? Sophie's Revenge is a gleeful, well-polished Chinese rom-com with a lot of slapstick humor and snippy banter. The film follows the story of Sophie, a cartoonist who is trying to win back her ex-boyfriend from a famous movie star, Joanna. Racing against time, Sophie, with the help of the handsome, mysterious Gordon, employs questionable scientific methods to reclaim Hunky Jeff. First of all, if you are looking for a heart-wrenching, profound drama, Sophie's Revenge will definitely sink your boat. The official NYAFF 2010 website describes a literal conspiracy between American movie distributors and the CIA from 20 years ago. It was decided that the only movies from China allowed in the States are the ones that depict China as a really crappy place to live. Aside from being Zhang Ziyi's debut as a producer, Sophie's Revenge is also a movie that proves that China can compete with the glitz of Hollywood. In comparison to Sawako Decides, another chick flick playing in the festival, Sophie sits on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Unfortunately for me, the story and character conventions in Sophie's Revenge reminds me too much of Chinese dramas at a first glance. The China that we see in Sophie's Revenge looks like something out of Sex and the City. The women who are fashionable and the men are hunky. Everyone is beautiful and everything is glossy. The plot is also pretty predictable. Just like most Hollywood rom-coms, the film is not realistic. The majority of the characters behave like caricatures, while any trace of human sincerity, courtesy of the men in the film, is obliterated by flashy, cutesy animated sequences. There is a weird balance issue in the film that makes it less accessible for me. I really don't mind predictable, flashy, romantic comedies as long as the characters are at least sympathetic. But this is not necessarily the case. The men in the film function as emotional anchors, and on the other hand, the women dish out all the comedy. While Sophie's Revenge comes across as a film for women, I am baffled that most of the female characters are shallow and vapid. Similarly to Sex and the City, the women in this film preach about the strength of the female sex and how the female will never be complete until they find their male counterpart. I think that is one thing about the film that turns me off the most. Sophie's character is actually slightly disturbed. She's obsessed with her ex-boyfriend so much that she doesn't notice Gordon's obviously more sincere feelings for her. Neither Sophie nor the other women in the film, including the strongest one, Joanna, know how to define themselves as complete individuals without a certain significant other. Strangely enough, at the end of the film, I feel more for Bin fans Joanna a heck of a lot more than I do for any of the protagonists in the film. She doesn't really deserve all the mischief that Sophie puts her through. Besides, Fan seems to display a wider range of emotions and a more sympathetic character arc than Zhang Ziyi's Sophie. Sophie's Revenge is a sweet, overly decorated cupcake. At first glance, it looks promising and enticing. As a consumer, you will savor its sweet sugar goodness and the rush that follows it. But an hour later, you'll realize that it doesn't exactly provide you with any essential nutrient necessary for the growth of your soul. Then again, I don't really have much of a sweet tooth. Two people work together to try to win back their lost loves, but not everything goes as planned. I don't usually watch Chinese rom-coms, but this one slipped away when I was watching to my committees. The general story isn't something special or new, but the way everything was mixed together made the film story interesting somehow. The film's introduction was a good intro for what will happen next. There were two well-written twists that you don't usually find in romantic comedy stories. That was a nice change. Lead's mixture was really cool even though it wasn't that intense. Finally, and most importantly, there were several hilarious moments to make the film lighter. Although there were a respectable amount of negative points, but I will only mention that the revenge plot wasn't that great. It would have been much better if it was written otherwise. It was a surprise to see her in a rom-com film since I only saw her in Wuxia Productions before. I was convinced by her acting, but I can say that the same about her character. Other actors were good too. They knew how to make it really enjoyable, especially Fan Bingbing. She grasped the evil role perfectly, but So Ji-wook was a disappointment here, mainly because I rarely like Korean actors in Chinese or Taiwanese productions. The chemistry was believable but not that enjoyable. Although it could have been much better, but scriptwriters chose to make it expected, it wasn't bad overall. Although it wasn't a special film, it was entertaining and I had fun while watching it. Considering the fact that I don't watch Chinese romantic comedies, this was pretty good. So if you like romantic comedies, then you would like this. If you like revenge plots, then don't expect much. If you like revenge plots, then don't expect much from this. I came across this movie because I was bored. I was not in the mood for something boring. As soon as this movie began, it had my attention. It's a pretty basic plot that if it were any other movie, it would probably be boring. But this movie had me laughing and going OMG because of all the antics and trouble that Sophie would get into. It was so entertaining. It was only 20 minutes into the movie when I texted my cousin to tell her to watch it. And then out of nowhere, there's a twist on the basic plot. It was refreshing. The characters were amazing. I wish we could have seen more of her friends or even some other supporting characters because they were such rich characters the lot of attention. But this is Sophie's revenge, and therefore it revolves around her revenge. All in all, it was a cute, fun, entertaining movie. I'm so glad I stumbled across it. If I could find it, I would totally. So this movie called A Bride's Revenge. Lori Parker's backstory revealed that she and her sister, Rose, harbored resentment towards their father, believing that he abandoned them and their mother. When Rose was 16, she burned down their house in an act of revenge. But unbeknownst to her, their father was in the house and ended up killed in the fire. Afterwards, Rose ran away. In adulthood, Lori dated Ian Ferguson, but their relationship wasn't a happy one, as Ian didn't like Lori's controlling behavior. Ian's mother, Deb, also didn't approve of her, and 6 months before they were set to wed, Ian called off the engagement. Lori refused to accept this and didn't take Ian's words seriously, stating that he has just confused by his mother and his job and he would do the right thing and marry her because he loved her and threatened that she would see to it that he would never be happy again if he didn't. However, the very beginning of the film showed Lori in her wedding gown, still in a delusional state of denial and expecting to be married to Ian, only to become enraged when Ian didn't show up, despite the fact that the priest told her that it had indeed been called off. A year later, Lori plotted revenge on her former fiancé, and after hearing about Ian's engagement to Mia Ellerson, the film's protagonist, she enlisted Rose to get close to Mia by working at her salon, blackmailing her into becoming a villainous conspirator. As part of the plan, Lori had Rose dressed as a deranged bride and stalked Mia, who believed that it was Lori. The vengeful villainess committed other evil acts to torment Ian and Mia, including unhooking Ian's dog's leash and sending him to be killed by a hit-and-run driver. Later on, the evil Lori entered Deb's home dressed in a bridal gown and killed her by shoving her down a flight of stairs. Afterwards, Lori sat in front of her mirror and boasted about killing Deb, blaming her for the end of her engagement and revealing Lori's villainous demeanor. After Rose caused Mark Ferguson, Ian's brother, to crash his car, Rose entered Mark's hospital room and attempted to kill Mark, but he was saved in time. Ian later confronted Lori at her home, where the villainess made a veiled admittance to everything that occurred, and ordered him to leave her house. She even smashed her head on a mirror in an attempted threat to portray Ian as an abuser, prompting Ian to leave. The film's climax revealed Caroline as Rose Parker, which was followed by Lori knocking out Mia with a brick and tying her up. Lori revealed Rose's role in the fire that killed her father, and also that she was using it to force Rose into helping her in her evil plan in response to Rose's protest to her sister's murderous actions. Later on, the sisters lured Ian to the mausoleum, with Ian chasing the gown-wearing Rose before encountering Lori. The demented villainess planned to kill Ian and Mia and make it appear that it was a murder-suicide committed by Ian, and she attempted to force Ian to drink oil juice laced with rat poison, threatening to shoot him if he didn't comply. Just then, Mia appeared. Lori called for Rose and ordered her to kill Mia, who attempted to talk down Rose and free her from Lori's control. Lori continued ordering Rose and shot Ian non-fatally when he went after her. While Rose and Mia were fighting, Lori pointed her gun and attempted to kill Mia, only for her shot to kill Rose instead. Horrified that she accidentally killed her own sister, the psychotic Lori screamed at Mia and made another attempt, only for Ian to shove the villainess down the stairs, which fatally broke her neck and killed her. As Mia and her fiancé plan their dream wedding, they are stalked by an eerie and dangerous veiled bride who is determined that Mia will never walk down the aisle. We start off with the bride putting on her veil and talking down an aisle with no one in the church. The priest comes and tells her the wedding has been cancelled because no one's there. She is like, "Oh, he will show, he promised." The bride then proceeds to scream while plucking petals in a he loves me not style. Flash to a year later and we meet Mia, who is a hairstylist, gets an invitation from Lori to her fiancé's Ian wedding. While Mia is closing up the shop, she gets the feeling she is being watched and she is by a person in a wedding gown and veil, but they look like a ghost bedsheet costume. At Ian's mom's birthday party, which only had 3 people in attendance, Ian's mom is shading the hell out of Lori because Mia explains the uneasy feeling she has been having. Lori shows up with a gift for Ian's mom and meets Mia. She says she didn't send a card and the mom is like, "I'm surprised you came to my birthday. I seem to remember you hated family gatherings." Shady. Another late night at the salon and Mia is attacked by the veiled ghost bride with a knife. Mia calls 911 and a handsome detective comes to help her. Ian does too, but he isn't very helpful when Mia talks about her dead mother. All of this made me think of when my mom was attacked and trying so hard to forget her final moments and remember who she was. He tells her he is sorry he wasn't there when her mom died. No one believes Mia when she tells them that she thinks it is Lori. Seriously, who else would send a wedding invitation by Lori's fake flowers and send them to her? Ian tells her that Lori waited at the altar even though he called off the wedding 2 weeks before. Lori's father died and mother had dementia. He is sorry he ever met her. Later, while running errands, Mia ties up Ian's dog to a tree and runs inside. The bride is back and unties the dog and sends it running through traffic. Ian is pretty upset with Mia for inadvertently killing his dog. At their wedding feasting, Mia is attacked again with a knife, this time in a bathroom. Mia runs out and tells Ian, who goes with her to the bathroom, "Don't worry folks, it isn't Lori. It is someone inexplicably in a wedding dress in the bathroom." When Mia confronts Lori, who who conveniently is at the restaurant across the street. Everyone thinks Mia is crazy and out of line. Taking matters into her own hands, Mia follows Lori to her job and other places. Lori notices and they have an altercation which is all caught on camera and will implicate Mia as the aggressor, even though Lori was nagging her. Mia's tire is deflated and she is running later to take care of Ian's mom, who has a cane. Ian's mom goes to take a bath and is somewhat surprised to see the veiled rose bride. The bride throws the mom down the stairs. Mia makes it home just in time to see the bride running off. Ian is a little less upset about his mom dying than the dog. He tells Mia that she is crazy and making the whole thing up. He doesn't want to hear it and yells at her, but then immediately apologizes. They agree to spend some time apart. At the funeral, Lori shows up and shakes the hell out of Mia. Ian is ever more suspicious and angry with Mia now. He can't believe she missed taking care of his mother to follow Lori. He breaks up with her at the funeral. He wants to postpone the wedding. Things keep getting worse for Ian. He gets passed up for a promotion at work. Poor Ian. Mia gets served papers for a restraining orders against. This doesn't stop her from staying away from Lori's mom, who is in a nursing home. Shady Times mom. Lori's mom is staring off into space and then grabs Mia's hand and tells her not to trust them. They will ruin you and break you. We all know that Ian can catch a break. His brother Mark gets in a car accident when he tries to avoid a bride in the road and hits a tree. Let me repeat that. He tries to avoid a bride in the road. What? Ian is even less sad about his brother being in a coma in the hospital. While in a meeting, Ian gets texts from his brother asking him to help him. Mark, the brother, flatlines when a mysterious figure pulls out his IV and unplugs his breathing machine. The murder attempt doesn't work because the nurses saved him. Thank you, nurses. Ian needed a win in this movie. He has a hard life. Mark tells Ian that he tried not to hit the bride in the road. Mia continues to do she's sleuthing and finds out that Lori's sister may have been responsible for the fire. She confronts her co-worker Sandra because she has a rose detail on one of her nails and has a rose at her workstation. Could the co-worker be Rose, Lori's sister, Sandra, or whoever freaks out and causes a scene? She leaves the hair salon. Turns out his was the other co-worker, Caroline, who is Rose, Lori's sister. They knock Mia in the head with a brick and tie her up in the closet. Lori has been holding this, burning their father alive, came over Rose's head to get her to carry out her plan, to make it look like Ian committed suicide because he is so depressed. The method of murder for Ian will be death by OJ and rat poison. Mia comes to and hears the whole plot. She breaks free and rushes to Ian's rescue. At the mausoleum, don't ask me why, Ian sees the bride and chases after her. The bride leads Ian to Laurel, who has a gun and is rigged to make it look like a murder of Mia's suicide. Lori tries to force Ian to drink the rat poison instead of shooting him, and Rose goes after Mia with her knife. Lori tries to shoot Mia but kills her sister instead, and Ian pushes Lori down the stairs just like she did to his mom, who he didn't care about. We finish off with the wedding where everyone waves a bunch of ribbons. The actor who plays Ian is a potato, but has really nice arms. The sisters don't even look like sisters. One has brown hair and one is blonde. Mia is at a good place in her life as her business thrives and she is about to get married to a man she deeply loves and appreciates, Ian. She couldn't be more excited about not just her walk down with South, but the bright future that lies ahead. But at a party for Ian's mother, an unexpected visitor arrives and causes Mia some discomfort. Ian's ex, Lori, Hannah Barefoot, shows up and Mia is more than a little concerned, especially since Ian has told her that Lori was quite erratic and unstable in the past. Soon strange things begin to happen, including the presence of a mysterious woman in a bridal gown that tries to attack Mia. But Lori always seems to have an alibi. As the odd events continue, Mia is certain that Ian's ex is behind the incidents. But as she can prove it, some begin to think that Mia's stuff has started to unravel. Is she just breaking down under the stress of the wedding and Lori's return, or is a dark force at work? This is a fun one, a lifetime thriller that has rampant melodrama, relationship dysfunction, and unstable emotions galore, all brought to life by a more than capable ensemble. The narrative is geared toward the melodrama with a lot of twists, turns, and false leads leading to a wild finale that tops of all the dialogue at drama quite well. I love when these lifetime thrillers swing for the fences in terms of pace, characters, and emotional dysfunction. So I had a lot of fun with this one, even if it doesn't rank with the network's wildest offerings. A Bride's Revenge does pull out a lot of stuff to deliver the melodrama. However, even throwing in some light horror elements which help the movie stand out from its peers. The tone is trimmed in just enough and often enough to keep it serious in tone. So even those who prefer a more traditional style thriller should find entertainment here. I much prefer the tuned up dysfunction that appears, but the balance is very well executed, though as I've said, it leans toward the over-the-top drama. The pace is brisk, thanks in part of the kinetic narrative and ample twist, with enough burst of melodrama to ensure you're always given some kind of drama to bask in. So if you like dialogue of lifetime thrillers, A Bride's Revenge is fun, well-crafted ride. A thriller like this one can live or die by the leads involved, as a capable villain and likable protagonist can work wonders. In this case, we have both those bases covered and A Bride's Revenge delivers some fun performance, as both of those roles have been filled with talented performers. Katie Leclerc has the central role and radiates the kind of grounded, almost wholesome vibes this kind of character needs. While she's given better material to work with the most Lifetime good girls, she has decent awareness and doesn't come off as this clueless maid presence, so she doesn't frustrate or make us root against her. This is actually a big win, as a lot of the Lifetime good girls are just plain ugly use of their lives collapse around them. Lifetime veteran Hannah Barefoot is a fun love to hate character as well, as she is cold and conniving yet always seems to have her bases covered. This adds a lot of the cat and mouse aspect of a bride's revenge, as nothing is ever what it seems, and that allows for a good amount of twists and turns to unfold here. The cast also includes Jeff Skine, Ben Gavin, Kenja Carey, and Charles Christopher. Mia Ellerson as Gabriel Leclerc, the owner of the N-Style Salon, is happily engaged to Ian Ferguson. However, things begin to take a frightening turn after Mia receives an invitation to the wedding of Ian and his deranged ex-fiancée, Lori Barker. When Lori resurfaces and Mia is subsequently stalked by a veiled figure in a bridal dress, she's convinced that Ian's ex-fiancée is out of the sabotage her upcoming wedding to him out of spite. Unfortunately, the police don't believe her story, and even the initially supportive Ian begins to doubt Mia's sanity. She must not only save her relationship with him, but also his life. Lori's date shows himself to be a man who plays with choke straight when he tries to initiate sex with her in his car after their first date. He claims he's trying to find out if they're truly compatible. Needless to say, it doesn't succeed. Lori tries to use a literal metaphor to scare Ian into marrying her after her calls of their wedding and ends their relationship. Most of Lori's behavior points to her not being a sane woman. Mia to begin with, though by the final act, Ian realizes just how crazy Lori is. Clingy, jealous girl. Ian's choice of words when he ends his relationship with Lori heavily implies this. Ian said, "That's the problem, Lori. I can't be everything for you. You want me in this small little box with no other life? I can't be that guy. I won't be. I'm really, really sorry. I'm sorry." The stalkers have one in the form of the bridal veils they wear. Dating service disaster. On the night Rose lungs at Mia in a restaurant bathroom with a knife, Lori's attempt at online dating culminates in her going on a date with a man named Derek. It doesn't end well, as his lust for her prompts her to lash out and detail her belief that he confirmed her mother's philosophy that all men break women. While she's celebrating her 60th birthday, Deborah is this to Lori. The film's trailer opens with a voiceover letter variant, narrated by the deranged and vengeful Big Bad. More of the letter gets a voiceover in the film itself, and it turns out that Lori sent it to Ian after he called off their wedding. After Lori's father Brady left to live on his own, her mother Nancy began going on and on about how men only exist to break women. Lori herself comes around to believing this after Derek's attempt to initiate sex with her backfires. From sending me items such as an old wedding invitation and a bridal buffet to having her younger sister Rose stalk her, Lori is evidently attempting to drive her crazy as part of her twisted scheme. While not able to identify the perpetrator, Mark tells Ian that a woman dressed as a bride was responsible for his car accident, which leads Ian to realize Mia's been telling the truth all along. Lori intends to silence Mark for good before he can reveal any more potentially implicating information, but her attempt on his life fails. While it doesn't make her any less crazy, Lori loves not only her mother, Nancy, but also her younger sister, Rose, to the point she's utterly horrified when she unintentionally shoots her. Although she didn't have much of a choice since she didn't want to go to prison for unintentionally killing their father, Brady. Caroline is this, as she is Lori's younger sister, Rose, and her accomplice. Lori's scheme involves her and her younger sister, Rose, tormenting both Ian and Mia before they kill them and make it look like a murder-suicide, with Ian supposedly murdering Mia and then killing himself out of remorse by drinking a mix of orange juice and rat poison. Lori wears an all-black outfit including black gloves. When she sets up Ian's dog, Winston, to be killed by oncoming traffic, and also during her attempt to murder his brother, Mark, by shutting off his life support system. Part of Lori's scheme involves making it seem as though Mia is an insecure woman who is stalking her. Knowing Mia would eventually find out about her existence, Caroline or Rose Parker briefly manages to frame Sandra as Lori's accomplice or sister by painting a rose onto one of her fingernails. The final part of Lori and Rose's scheme amounts to this, as they plan to make it appear as though Ian killed Mia and then himself out of remorse in front of his late mother, Deborah's crypt. The end of the trailer features a church bell ringing ominously in between shots of the night-welding bride, a panic-stricken Ian, and a rather desperate-looking Mia. At the moment Ian's dog, Winston, dies, the audience only sees Mia's reaction and hears the sound of a vehicle screeching to a halt after its driver accidentally hits him. Lori's reaction to the fact that Ian didn't show up at their already cancelled wedding. Lori's personal brand of hypocrisy is truly something to behold, especially when she calls Deborah controlling, insinuates that Mia is a stalker, and calls out Rose for having a conscience about killing someone. When Rose protests that their plan was just to scare Ian and Mia, Lori reminds her younger sister of how she burned down their father's house when he was inside, leading to a variant of this being said by the former in response. Downplayed, as Lori threatens to inform the police that Rose was their father's accidental killer if she stops going along with her plan. In the film's climax, when Ian is reluctant to commit suicide by drinking orange juice that's been mixed with rat poison even as she holds him at gunpoint, Lori makes quite a few threats of this sort, which range from inverting the stroke to playing it straight. Rose's accidental death occurs because of this thanks to a bullet Lori fired which was meant for Mia. Lori feels this way about Mia's engagement to Ian to the point that she wants to kill both of them. On what would have been her first anniversary with Ian, Lori sends Mia an invitation to the cancelled wedding. When both Ian and Detective Watts ask to see it, she's unable to find it because Rose threw the invitation away when she wasn't looking. After Mia is almost attacked by Rose acting as the bride in a restaurant bathroom, she rushes out to tell Ian. When he comes to look, the only woman present is an innocent blonde in a white dress, cue Mia desperately trying to convince Ian she's not crazy. It happens again when Mia spots Lori acting as the bride and fleeing from the Ferguson residence in the wake of Deborah's murder. Detective Watts mentions how no intruder was spotted by anyone else. Lori's ultimate fate, as she is pushed down a stairway just like she did to Ian and Mark's mother, Deborah, she exaggerates it at one point by unhooking the leash of Ian's dog, Winston, walking him to the side of a busy street and allowing him to run into oncoming traffic, resulting in his death off-screen. At Deborah's funeral, she apologizes for not knowing that Mia's mother was dead. She then twists the knife in even deeper by revealing Mia's whereabouts on the day Deborah died, making it known she's been following her around and labeling her a crazy woman, all in front of Ian. In the film's climax, she mockingly says to Ian that it's so sad seeing Deborah's crypt at the Brentcliffe Mausoleum. A villainous version of this unfolds in the film's climax, with Mia having broken free of her captivity and found a way to get to the Brentcliffe Mausoleum. Lori continuously shouts for Rose to just stab her to death. She reluctantly goes through with her attempt on Mia's life because she doesn't want to be imprisoned. The murderous bride dresses in all-white outfit, long dress, veil, sandals, and elbow-length gloves. Averted when Lori tries to kill Mark at the hospital, when more traditional black gloves are used. When the brides resort to murder, this is the method used. It applies for the murder of Ian's mother, Deborah, and it almost works when Rose appears in front of Mark while he's driving. He ends up crashing into a tree, but then ultimately survives. Manipulative. Lori sure knows how to steer people into doing exactly what she wants them to do. Missing mom. Mia's mother died a year before the film's event in a carjacking. Mia herself was also in the vehicle, witnessing her final moments alive. Murder by suicide. Lori attempts this on Ian while she's holding him at gunpoint by having him drink a bottle of orange juice laced with rat poison. It fails. Never the obvious suspect, Lori is a crazed and delusional woman who clearly resents Ian, but the bride's face remains hidden for much of the film thanks to her veil, suggesting that not everything is as it seems. Subverted almost halfway through the film. The bride unmasks herself, to reveal Lori under the veil after she kills Ian's mother, Deborah. Expect she also has an unwilling accomplice, her younger sister Rose, who dresses up as the bride whenever Lori does not. This is part of a twisted scheme to make Mia appear to be crazy. When Mia spots a rose painted on a fingernail of her colleague friend Sandra, she suspects her to be Rose using a false identity, only to be quickly proven wrong. However, the rose was painted by Caroline, one of Mia's other colleagues, as part of a frame-up since she is the real Rose. Obsessive love letter. Lori sends Mia a wedding invitation for her cancelled marriage to Ian on what would have been their first anniversary. Mia's reaction to discovering an incriminating bridal dress and veil in a closet at the Parker residence. Seconds later, she has a similar reaction upon realizing that Caroline is Rose Parker. A few more moments pass as Mia tries to escape out the front door while Rose desperately asks her to wait and just stop, only to come face to face with Lori, who knocks her out by hitting her over her head with a brick. When she was 16, Lori's younger sister Rose unintentionally killed their father Brady by burning his house down, playing the victim card. After Mia is attacked by the bride in a restaurant bathroom and confronts Lori about in the next date, the vengeful ex-fiancé insinuates that she is stalking her. Police are useless. Detective Watts, who is investigating Mia's allegations, comes to believe she's the crazy one. Like most female-driven thrillers, it's left to the heroine to prove her innocence and save the day. Psycho ex-girlfriend. Doubling as a psycho ex-fiancé, Lori is determined to exact revenge against Ian for his choice not to marry her. Showing up uninvited at the Ferguson residence while his brother, Mark, is helping their mother, Deborah, celebrate her 60th birthday. Lori definitely shows this off whenever things go right or almost do as part of her evil plan. Rage breaking point. Lori plays innocent and remains level-headed for most of the film, but she finally loses it in the climax after she accidentally kills Rose during her struggle with Mia. Mia notices that Sandra never mentioned any of her relatives to her before she mentioned the rose painted onto one of her fingernails, along with how she gives a red rose at her station in the N-style salon. The leads the former to eventually suspect that the latter is Rose Parker, Lori's younger sister and her accomplice. It turns out that Caroline is Rose. The revealing part. The house fire that killed Lori's father, Brady, 14 years before the film's events was an act of arson perpetrated by Lori's younger sister, Rose. Lori blackmailed Rose into being her accomplice, threatening to let the police know that she was the arsonist who accidentally killed their father if she refused to do so. The final part of the Parker sisters' plan is to lure Ian to his late mother Deborah's grave at the Brentcliffe Mausoleum so that Lori can force him to commit suicide before they kill Mia. Lori's motive for concocting her scheme against Ian, as she wants both him and his new bride to suffer. Revenge by proxy. A large part of Lori's plan for revenge includes this. As she sets up his dog Winston to die by allowing for him to run into oncoming traffic, kills his mother Deborah, and instructs Rose to play chicken so that his brother Mark gets into a car accident. When that fails, she shuts off his life support system, but he is saved in time by hospital staff. Upon watching this film again, quite a few things Caroline says that is mentioned to do serve to foreshadow who she truly is. The runaway. Even after Lori covered for her, Rose still ran away when she was 16. Runaway fiancé. Other than the perplexed Reverend Connelly, Lori is the only person who shows up to her cancelled wedding. Lori's mother, Nancy, is mentioned by Ian as displaying symptoms of advanced stages of dementia by the time he first met her. Lori also states that she now lives at the Cloverfield retirement home. There are small hints of this between Sandra and Mark in the film's wedding finale. Sibling murder. An accidental example of this happens in the film's climax when Lori attempts to shoot Mia in her forehead, only for the bullet she fired to go into Rosa's back instead. After Mark survives a near-fatal car crash caused by the bride playing chicken in the road, someone pays a visit to his hospital room and unplugs his life support system, ultimately subverted since the hospital staff arrived in time to save him. Small role and big impact. Joseph Young, the lead detective in the investigation into the house fire that killed Lori's father, Brady, provides more than one long line to Mia while he talks to her about Lori's younger sister. Smug sneak. Lori's overall attitude, especially when she reassures Rose about her perfect plan. Lori has nothing nice to say about dead people who she absolutely despises, and neither does her mother, Nancy. The same applies to Lori's younger sister, Rose, who accidentally killed their father, Brady. One example of this happens after Lori kills Deborah via a staircase tumble. She has these thoughtful words to say about both her and Ian, which Rose listens to off-screen while standing in her older sister's doorway. Owning a successful hair salon and about to be married to the man of her dreams, Mia doesn't think things can get any better. Things quickly begin to fall apart when she receives a wedding invitation. to the wedding of her fiancé Ian and his ex-fiancée Lori, soon Mia is being stalked by an eerie bride dressed in a wedding gown and veil, and Ian begins to suspect Mia might be making it all up. When a series of horrifying events start to occur, Mia is convinced that Lily is carrying out a twisted and deadly plan of revenge.